Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you are safe and well, enjoying good health despite sort of the craziness that's going on in the world right now. Like I mentioned, my name is Brett. I will be moderating this panel today, and I am joined by my colleague, Erin, who is going to be helping us with some Q&A. So she will be in the Q&A box, which I'll talk about in just a moment, answering some questions. I do encourage you to please use the Q&A box. We will be, answering questions directly from you. You will have the opportunity also to upvote these questions as well. So just to kind of do some housekeeping items, you can raise your hand. And you can please use the Q&A box to ask questions. Essentially, these are at the bottom of your screen. So like you can see in this slide here, you can send anonymous questions if you like as well. Let's see here. And we will try to answer as many live as possible. And here, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panelists. So we can start with Himi, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Himi. I'm from Dhaka, Bangladesh, and I'm currently living in New York City. I am studying engineering sciences under the Hajim School of Engineering.
Marcelo.
Hi everyone, my name is Marcelo. Like it says in the slide, I'm from Monterrey, Mexico. And I also am double majoring, but in econometrics and international relations. What else can I tell you? I also have a concentration in math and statistics, and I have a bunch of different positions on campus that we can get on later.
Perfect. And Yutong.
Hi, my name is Yue Tong, and I'm a class of 2022. I'm from Guangzhou, China, and I'm doing a business and applied math double major. And I'm also having a cluster of music theory.
Great, thank you each so much. So Erin has also introduced herself further in the Zoom chat, so you can check that out as well. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. Please send those questions in, and we will start answering. I have one just to start us off and get you thinking about what maybe get you thinking about some questions that you may have. And that is, what is your favorite, maybe social event on campus? And we can start with Marcelo, because he's smiling.
I was going through all of them. There's a lot that I really like, but I think my favorite would have to be Tropicana, which is like a dance kind of night that the Spanish and Latino Students Association does with the Caribbean Student Association. And it's really cool. Like just dancing and dinner. It's really fun.
That sounds great. And I love this because I constantly learn of things that we have on campus that, I haven't previously encountered. So that's wonderful. Himi, do you have?
Yeah, I do. So I've been involved with the South Asian Club on campus. So every spring we will host something that's called Mela. So it's a huge Mela basically translates to like festival. So what we do is we have a skit that is like that tries to represent the South Asian culture as best as we can, obviously. And then we will have like a Bollywood dance floor, and we'll also have South Asian food catered from our local Indian restaurant. So it's really amazing, and I think that has definitely been one of my highlights for the last 4 years. So yeah, we were actually able to host Mela right before all of this started, so I was really happy.
Got it in just under the wire.
Yeah.
That's great. Yutong, how about you?
Mine is also about dancing. When I was a freshman, I was also part of a dancing group called Rice Crew. And there I tried hip hop, jazz, and popping, that kind of stuff. And more, I was also a member of Chinese Student Association. And when I was in that group, we will host events like the China Night to celebrate the Spring Festival, and it's super fun and interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And we just got our first question, which is fantastic. What sort of student clubs and organizations are you guys a part of? I'll start with Stella. Or Yutong, sorry.
Yeah, I go by Stella. When I was a first year student, I was a group of Rice Crew. It's a K-pop dancing group, and all you have to do is to attend their general interest meeting, and then you can like join their like every practice and even performance live. And also, since I'm from China, I'm also a member of the Chinese Student Association, and we can host events for Chinese students and every other students on campus. Yeah, it's fun.
Awesome. I'd like to also mention that Stella Yutong is also an intern for our office in working on our social media. So she helps us greatly with our WeChat account. So if any folks in the audience have a WeChat, we definitely encourage you to give us a follow. You can find our info online as well, and we'll be sure to add our contact, our info in the chat box as well. Okay, how about you, Himi?
I have been involved with a variety of clubs, starting from the very get-go. I was part of the Biomedical Engineering Society, which was more of a professional group, so I learned a lot about like networking from there. But then I've also been heavily involved with the South Asian Culture Club, just because like that's where I'm from, and I genuinely enjoy the whole aspect of trying to like introduce the greater Rochester community to the South Asian culture. And then the other most like outstanding things would be, the first one would be that I'm part of the Meridian Society. So that's like the tour guides who like introduce students to the prospective students to campus community. And then the last thing would be debate. So I've been involved with debate, and I've never tried debate before college. So that was definitely something that I definitely enjoyed.
Great, thanks. And Marcelo, how about you?
It's about student groups, right? And stuff.
Yeah, clubs and organizations, yeah.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously the Spanish and Latino Students Association, which you have, like, it's for, Hispanic or Latino people. I'm from Mexico, so obviously I joined the group really quickly. I also was a member of Pride. Pride Network is for LGBTQ plus students on campus. What else? I was part of the Campus Times. I was part of MUN. I was part of a lot of things because freshman year, you just try to find your niche. But yeah, there's a lot of groups on campus. I also work at Wilson Commons Student Activities. And yeah, I've been everywhere on campus.
Great, thank you. So also we have a great question here about what was the transition like moving to Rochester from your home country? So that's a really fantastic question. So if you each could speak to that, that would be great. You can go in any order, whoever is ready.
I can start, I think.
All right.
I like answered this question yesterday, so I feel like I know somewhat how to answer it. But okay, so I think my biggest worry when I was transitioning from like a very warm weather in Bangladesh to like Rochester was that I'm gonna have a hard time dealing with the winter. Not really, just because of the tunnel systems. Like all of the academic buildings are connected to each other through the tunnel system. So it's just like a 5-minute walk from your dorm to the tunnel system, and then you're inside mostly. And obviously I bundled up. But the one thing I will say is like, if you can invest in a sun lamp, it will really help. But otherwise, I think my transition was made easy because of how many different groups exist on campus. Because I remember freshman year, first weekend that classes started, we had the activities fair. So I was able to like meet a lot of different variety of people, because I signed up for debate, culture groups, dance groups, whatnot, right? So that really made my transition a lot easier, because every upperclassman, or like anyone for that matter, and like Wilson Commons is our student activity center, and every single staff there, they always greet you with a smile on their face. And I think that's definitely was one of the reasons why my transition to Rochester, or like the United States, was a lot more easier than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Thank you. How about you, Stella?
Um, I'm having the same situation because I'm from a southern part of China. It's definitely cold in winter at Rochester, and snow is everywhere, like right now. But students would normally go through tunnels in winter and stay warm. And I haven't seen snow before I came to U of R, but since there's heat everywhere inside the buildings, you don't have to worry about not able to adjust to the cold weather here.
That's a great point too. Yeah, sometimes I almost feel like over warm. Sometimes when you're inside, you're like, oh, I might actually enjoy standing outside for a couple of minutes. So that's wonderful. There's definitely a lot of options to stay warm, right?
Right.
Marcelo, how about you? You're also from a warmer area.
Yeah, I'm from a desert. Um, so coming to a frozen tundra, was not fun. Um, but I mean, I was very fortunate that I had already, like, I knew what the cold was. I had gone like skiing, so I was prepared. I was not prepared for it to snow in May or in April. That was like a surprise. But um, I mean, the thing is, if you're suffering in the cold, you're suffering with other people because everyone hates it. So it's like it's cool. You have people.
That's great. Absolutely. And how about like the cultural adjustment? Weather aside, how was your adjustment, culturally to the U of R? Yeah.
There you go. So the year that me and Himi got here, was the year that Trump got elected. Um, so there was quite a cultural shock there, because as a Mexican, for example, a president getting elected that calls Mexicans some sort of things, was quite shocking. Um, but I think that the university as a whole and each professor handled it really well, because at least for me, I got personal emails from professors being like, "Hey, if you need a little time to like just be by yourself and not come to class, just let me know and we can work together on like the assignments and stuff." So that was really nice. Um, yeah, so I think that just speaks to the culture here.
Great. Thank you. Himi or Stella, do you have anything else to add about did you experience culture shock, things like that?
I mean,
Yeah,
you
go
can go
ahead.
first. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't really have cultural shock because we have so many Chinese students here. Like we can go through this all together. It's definitely a little bit hard at first for you to get used to a new life here, but as you make friends with the students here or live with them and communicate with them, that you can get used to it day by day, and then you can have like, oh my god, it's so fun. I make lots of friends from all over the world, and it's super good.
Great.
Yeah, I think for me, the whole aspect, me and Marcelo became friends, I think the first weekend the first week we were here actually. But like he mentioned, there was something obviously that happened that definitely impacted our lives. But I think the biggest thing that, and yeah, I've been in South Asia most of my life, or Asia in general. So I like American culture is a lot different from any other culture. So it was a little bit of a bit of an adjustment. But I think it was made easier for me because of the fact that as soon as I came in, all of like the residential life staff made sure that I was comfortable in like where I was. And then the orientation team had like events that would like introduce us to like different cultures and different things. And for me, like unlike Stella, my freshman year there was no other Bangladeshi, so I was a little like alone-ish. But then the next year there were like 7 of them, and I think that's when I like finally was like, okay, like I have this new family, but I also have people with like similar backgrounds. So that was definitely something that helped me.
Great, thank you so much. And I just want to set a quick reminder before we get to our next question to please continue to ask your questions in the Q&A box rather than the chat function, just so folks can see and upvote your questions depending on who has those questions as well. I'd like to move on to what is the overall international scene like at Rochester, or, you know, including the social scene in general?
That's great.
Okay.
I can answer to that. I guess like for me, and I'll like combine those 2 questions together. Like, what's the social scene like? I'm someone. So I never toured a college. All I had was like online like information to go off of, and I always noticed that Rochester had like a higher number of international students. And I think that's something that I was looking for when I was applying to like different colleges, diversity in student body. And that's what it was like for me. There's so many different people from so many different countries. We are so like I don't know if it's available somewhere online, but I know on campus we had the flag lounge, and it had countries, like all the different countries that our students are from, or the flags from those different countries. I think that was something that I really liked, because like I was always able to see that like, oh, there are these different people from like these so many different countries, right? So I think that was definitely something that I really liked. So there's a lot of diversity. And when the question about like the social scene, I think that sort of like combines into it, because like Stella mentioned, Marcella mentioned, we have so many different cultural groups that we would often host like different events on campus where we would be able to go and like learn more about these cultures. And I genuinely definitely enjoy that, and I've been able to learn so much about different like cultural groups and like people in general through like these kind of events, where I was able to go have dinner with them, or like watch their different kind of like every culture has their like dance forms or like art forms. So like I was able to learn more about them. So that's how I would like see the international scene in Rochester.
Great, thank you. Oh, I have one here actually regarding sort of housing on campus, which I think is also really important to sort of talk about, as 2 of you are currently staying on campus. Marcelo and Stella are on campus currently, riding out this storm, sort of, as we speak. Do you have recommendations on dorm choice? Are the dorms related to certain international scenes?
Okay. Well, I'm an RA also, so I may be more capable of answering this question, I guess. But I think that in general, you want to live somewhere where you so you can choose whether to live alone or with other people, basically. And I think that's the first question you have to answer. Do I want to be alone or with other people? Because there are options of living in like suite style. There are options of living in interest floors, like anime interest floor, music interest floor, or green space. I think the first question is like, who do you want to live with? Do you want to live with friends? Do you want to have alone time? And then the second question is, do you want to live in an area which is more like an interest, a shared interest with other people, or just a bunch of your friends? So those are the first questions that you need to ask and answer yourself.
Great. And Himi or Stella, would you add anything to that?
I guess like for me, like, do you have recommendations on dorm choices? I'm a quad kid, so like the quad, I'm obsessed with the quad, which is like Gilbert, Hoeing, Turnen, and Lovejoy, I think. But at the end of the day, in terms of like dorms, they're not related to like international scene at all. They're very like it's very like, I think, diverse, because I remember there were a couple of international students in my like hallway, but there were also a lot of students who are like from the US or like other parts of the world, right? That was definitely something that I genuinely enjoyed, because it allowed me to learn more about people and get to know different types of people. In terms of like roommate, you can go either or. You can either choose to live with someone, or you can go like random, as they call it. And if you want to choose someone or like get to know someone, like I said, I was in South Asia, and my freshman year roommate, she messaged me at 4 a.m. I was up studying for my A-levels. So I was like, yeah, she messaged me because she found me in that Facebook group that all of the new all of the students can get like join on. And I posted an intro post, and that's how I met one of my closest friends on campus. So like that's definitely another option. So yeah, that's how I would do that's how I did the entire like dorm situation, but everyone has their preferences.
I will also say a lot of what I encountered when I was coming in is that since I was sending all of my documents through like Mexican airmail, it took a while for the documents to get here. So I didn't get like the housing that I wanted because they got it really late. So I'm sure that a bunch of international students can attest to that. So just be prepared for anything. Either way, I had a lot of fun meeting people that I wouldn't otherwise not get to know. So
Great, thank you. Stella, how's your living on campus experience
Um,
been?
I was living in Susan B when I was a freshman, but for recommendation, I would say everyone loves Genesee because it's a new building and it has air conditioner.
yeah.
But I agree with Himi and Marcelo because it's your choice to whether pick a roommate or like having a random assigned roommate. Yeah, it's definitely your choice, like they have said before.
Great. And if you check out the chat feature as well, I did just upload a link there for first year housing information. So that will tell you the different dorms that are sort of available for first year students. So typically freshmen come in and start in one of these buildings. And then of course, as you progress in your academic career, I should say, you can, go on to Suite Style and live in other places as well. But that link is very helpful. It also shows, things to bring, things not to bring, all that kind of stuff. So I encourage you to check that out. So we have some great questions here, and let's see. Let's answer right at this moment. What part of the U of R is most fascinating for you? So what maybe surprised you? Let's start with Stella. Do you have something that surprised you the most?
Like we have said before, I would say the most fascinating part is the diversity on campus because we have so many international students and we also have activities specific to international students like the International Cultural Dinner in Danforth Dining Center and also a dancing showcase during orientation about different cultures. Yeah, I think that's it.
Great, thank you so much. And since we were just talking about housing, I just saw this question about ED students. Do ED students get benefits in choosing housing? The answer to that is you do get a preference. So you, when you get your admissions packet, you can absolutely state your preference. So use that link I gave you and check out the different halls, see what you might prefer, and you absolutely can do that if you're an ED admit. Okay, and that's ED1 or ED2. Okay. All right. So why did you pick Rochester? Let's go to Marcelo.
Okay. I knew you were gonna pick. I picked the U of R for like three reasons. I think the first one is because they were very generous with their financial aid. That was the first point that I want to make clear. They were really generous with their financial aid, and that's the only way I could have come to the U.S. to study. Secondly, one of my friends from high school was attending here while I was applying. And so I talked to her and she connected me with a bunch of other students. And so I wanted to get a feel of the university culture, and I talked to a bunch of students. And it was I got the impression that like it was chill. It was a chill campus. Like there was like, it was just I got a fun vibe from it, for lack of a better word. um and that was also a very big influence. And then the third factor was they had to be good at what I wanted to study, and the U of R has a great econ department, so yeah.
Thank you so much. And we're about halfway actually through the panel already, which is really crazy. Time just flies. So I do want to sort of address things about, academics specifically, Marcelo, since you've brought that up. How do you feel about the open curriculum, and how are you taking advantage of that open curriculum? Let's go to Himi.
Right. So I guess for me, it's like the summer before I started college, not the summer before, like summer between my junior year and senior year of high school, I had the opportunity to attend an Ivy League for their summer program. And so I actually had the opportunity to like talk to a couple of college counselors, and that's where I actually heard about Rochester, and they said that, oh, we have an open curriculum. And I was very intrigued by that, because everywhere else they were like, oh, we have these general education requirements, and then junior year you get to take these engineering courses. So for me, I wanted to be a physics and astronomy major, and I thought that that's what I wanted to do with my life. But then I also was interested in engineering. So freshman year, while I was still a physics major, I was able to like take a course in biomedical engineering 101, and that's when I realized that that's where my interest like really was. And I remember taking a diversity of classes. Like I took economics 108, and then I took writing that had a lot of philosophy ingrained into it. So for me, I decided to do engineering. So I pursued engineering as my major, but because of the open curriculum, I was able to take 3 courses in humanities and 3 courses in social sciences that each formed 2 different clusters, which is a requirement for University of Rochester. And I was able to learn a lot about legal studies, because I was really intrigued by how like law was used in terms of public health. And then I also studied a lot of political science, because like Marcelo mentioned, that we were coming into college during a very like turmoil time. So I wanted to learn more about how like international relations and like political science played into all of that. So I took political science for my social science cluster, and I took legal studies for my humanities cluster. So while I was still able to become what people call like employable, I also learned a lot more about different interests that I had.
Great, thank you so much. Stella, would you mind enlightening us about how clusters work? How does a cluster system work? Oh, I think you're muted.
We can't hear you.
Stella, you're muted.
Oh, yeah. Is it working? Is it working?
Yep.
Yeah. So as for clusters, there are sets of related courses that fall within one of the 3 academic divisions. It's humanities, social science, and natural science and engineering. Yeah, so basically, if like me, my major is math and business. So that's natural science and social science. So I will have to do a cluster in humanity. That's that's why I take music theory courses, because music is within the humanity division. Yeah, that's how it works.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for our engineers, or potential engineering students, although everybody comes in as undecided, if you decide you want to be an engineer, that's fantastic. Himi, could you talk to us a little bit about how that works for engineering students?
So engineering students, we have about eight engineering majors. So if it's a traditional engineering major, for example, biomedical engineering, audio music engineering, mechanical engineering, those stuff, you have to do one cluster, sorry. You have to do one cluster. And if you're, for me, for example, I'm an engineering science major, or if you're studying computer science, you'll have to do two clusters instead of one, because there's less requirements in terms of courses for these, as they're not Abbott accredited, whereas the rest are Abbott accredited. So that's the big licensing board that decides to give you that ring of becoming an engineer. So that's the only way I can explain it, sort of, because I was originally a biomedical engineering major and I only had to do one cluster, but then I switched my major, so I was able to do two clusters.
Thank you. And just to further elaborate on that, your engineers have a little heftier coursework in terms of how many classes they must take to complete their major. So that's part of the reason that our engineering students need only complete one cluster rather than two, because they have a little heavier of a course load. So if you are not in studying engineering, you do need to complete a cluster in each of the other areas. Thank you so much. Marcelo, we have one specifically for you here. Marcelo, did U of R live up to the fun, chill vibe?
Yeah, actually. Yes, it did. I thought so. I'm gonna answer this question in two parts. Yes, it is very chill. That is the first part. And that's the thing I liked. I'm a very I'm not like a very intense person in any part of my life. So the U of R being chill was very important. But the second part of it, I'm gonna answer more of like a social scene way, because I feel like people are asking, was it fun? Like, are there parties and stuff? Yes, there are parties. But I think that, in my opinion, the social scene at U of R is too reliant on like student groups and Greek affiliation. So like if you're expecting like random parties, that won't happen. It mostly it's like dinner parties with your student group, or like just a party for a Greek house. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Let's see here. Oh, we have a question specifically about political science courses. All right, Marcel, you can just continue with that one.
Okay. What is the question? Just
what did you
general?
think of the political
Oh,
science courses, prospective political science major here?
okay. I love political science. Whoever asked that question, thank you for that question. Political science here is really good. I think it's like the professors actually care about your learning, which I found like super shocking, because I came in thinking like professors don't care about you. You're one face out of 400 in their lecture class. But that's not true. And it was really nice to find out everyone cares about you, about your learning. I would encourage everyone to just reach out to their professors, even freshman year. Get to know them. You never know when you actually might like hit it off, and they could be a reference for you, or they could actually know of a internship opportunity or anything. So I would encourage you, when you come, just meet all of your professors, talk to them a bit, tell them about yourself. Specifically for poli-sci, this helps a lot to get connections in the business. If you talk to your professors, if you're interested in research, that goes a long way. So yeah, poli-sci is really good here. I don't know, like specifically, I would recommend to go into the political economy side of things, but I'm biased because I also study econ. So yeah.
Thanks, Marcella. That's wonderful. And you briefly mentioned research. Have any of our panelists done some research at the university, and could you tell us a little bit about that? Himi, I see you nodding, so we'll start with you.
So I've had exposure in humanities research, and I've also had exposure in natural sciences research. I'll talk about the humanities one first because I think that's like not as like bland, I guess. So I got involved with the Rochester community. So Warner, which is the educational, like Warner School of Education in Rochester, has a program with the local East High School where students are able to like help out the school in terms of like studying and all that. So I got involved with that through debate, and I was able to go into the school and like interact with students and mentor students and come up with data to figure out how debate correlated to like higher grade point average for students who were getting involved with the who were getting involved with the project. And I think that was one of the most like enlightening experiences I had, because oftentimes I used to be like this, in a bubble that like on campus. So being able to like break that and go into the Rochester City community was definitely something that was really helpful for me. And I see a question pop up like, are there any volunteering opportunities on campus or in the city? Yes, there are. So that was one of those opportunities for me. And then I was able to like discuss about it. I got published for it. So those were like some really interesting opportunities. For my natural sciences one, I simply emailed the professor like, hi, I want to do research in medical devices. What are like, how can I like approach this scenario? So he connected me to a doctor in the medical center, and then I was able to continue that research and work on that. So simply research means reaching out to your professors. Like Marcelo mentioned, talk to your professors as soon as you come in first year, starting from first year. They become your reference. They can write a recommendation letters for you come graduate school time or internship time. And obviously, like, sometimes it's just good to know about these opportunities because like you never know when you might need those.
Great, thank you. And there's a couple questions here that I'd like to sort of tie in together. They share a theme, and that speaks around volunteer opportunities, whether on campus or in downtown Rochester. So specifically, are there any volunteering opportunities on campus or in the city? And speaking of those things, we can elaborate as well on what's the city of Rochester like? Stella, would you be able to talk about maybe your internship or volunteer opportunities and what you think about the Rochester region?
I'm right now doing an on-campus job. I think Rochester as a city, definitely it's like it's different from my hometown, and it has fewer people than I have expected, especially in the winter. But as for the on-campus job, it's super fun, and I think that I can combine some questions together about the research and internships. Like, if you want to do an internship, you can go to the Handshake platform and then sign up, and then look for the information of any company or any job position that you're interested in, and then you can just apply for the job position, and then you get an interview, and then you can take the job. Yeah, that's how it works in general.
Great, thank you. And what are your opinions on what is there to do in the city, and what maybe are your favorite things about the city of Rochester? Marcelo, I'm going to go to you.
I love garbage plates. Garbage plates are my life.
What is a garbage plate?
For all of the attendees that don't know what a garbage plate is, it is the signature plate from Rochester. It is the thing that we're most known for, and it is complete and utter trash, but I love it. There is nothing better than a garbage plate. It's like a really weird meal, guys, but you have to try it if you come. It's really good, in all seriousness. but it's called the garbage plate. What else is there to do in the city? I mean, I think that Rochester is kind of like a hidden gem because like, and a lot of students are going to tell you that there's not a lot to do, but it's because we're kind of far from the city and a lot of students don't have cars. I bike to the city and there's a whole lot of stuff to do. The farmers market is really good. There's a whole bunch of restaurants that are like really quirky in their own way. Bookstores, coffee shops, everything. It feels really nice. It's just about exploring it. So yeah.
And do you use the shuttle system often to get to downtown Rochester?
Yes. So as a U of R student, you have access to a lot of shuttles, and for example, I use them to go to Walmart, to go to I forget the area, but right next to the Eastman School, so I can go downtown. So yeah, there's a bunch of shuttles available to us also.
Great. Thank you. And how about you, Himi? What's your experience with, the city of Rochester, accessibility, things to do?
I love Rochester because of like how different and unique it is. Like I've been to New York City and California, but like Rochester is a hidden gem, like Marcelo mentioned. If you are a brunch person, there are plenty of brunch options for you to go and check out. I love Rochester because of like how different it is and how unique it is. And now that it's all like it's over for me, I guess like the one thing I'll say is that anyone who comes to Rochester needs to check out Equal Grounds. It's one of the cutest coffee shops in Rochester. Because of the fact that the shuttle services run there, so like there's something called the Red Line and Orange Line that will take you through downtown, and they have different like stops on its way, so you're able to like explore different coffee shops in different places. So the accessibility was never an issue, and the farmers market that Marcelo mentioned, we have a public market that takes place on, and the bus will take you there. It's called the Green Line that will take you there on Saturday weekends and Sunday. So like that was like early in the morning, but it's worth the trip because fresh veggies, who doesn't want it? Fresh fruits, who doesn't want that? So that was something that was definitely unique. And there was a question about volunteering within the city. We have different organizations that will take you, that will like you can sign up for so that you can go into the Rochester city and like support these organizations. But there are also various organizations that often will have like students from the Rochester city area come onto campus, and you can also like volunteer to like help them with their homework assignments or stuff like that. And those opportunities do exist. So I think volunteering and becoming a part of the Rochester community besides your campus community is something that our school definitely does focus on, and I am grateful for that.
Wonderful, thanks. And also downtown, we have a lot of different cultural experiences too. So we have the Eastman School of Music, which is attached to the University of Rochester and accessible by the Red Line. We also have the Memorial Art Gallery. Have any of the three of you, have you gone to an Eastman concert, or what would you say the cultural sort of experience of downtown is like?
Well, I've gone to a couple of plays and musicals downtown, and I've gone to a couple of concerts in the Eastman School. It is like fun. It kind of feels like a tiny New York, like, because a tiny little Broadway. I would say that it feels like that. It's really cool. I used to do musical theater in high school, so it was really nice to have that outlet here to watch like just plays and stuff.
Great. And we have a Memorial Art Gallery too, which is available for students. And that's considered, one of our 5 campuses. So definitely something to check out too. So thank you for that. And let's see. Oh, this one's for Himi. Do you ever have time to visit New York City?
Oh, so many. Yes, I do have time to visit New York City quite often, actually, I realize, because we have breaks, like fall break, and then we also have apologies. So we obviously have different breaks like fall break, Thanksgiving break, spring break, and oftentimes I know at least during Thanksgiving breaks, the university will provide us with free shuttles to the bus stop or the airport and or the train station. So that's definitely something that you can take advantage of. And even if not for the breaks, I know I've had plenty of times to come visit home just because like the bus ride, depending on which bus you choose, and I highly recommend the 12 a.m. bus because that will get you here faster than any of the other buses, because it takes a direct route and it doesn't stop anywhere besides Syracuse. So I've always taken that bus, and I'm usually here within like 5.5 hours. So that's been pretty great. It also depends on your class schedule. Like I never had classes on Fridays after my freshman year, so I was able to like plan that out. So like on a Thursday night, I'll just catch a bus here. But since you have the like liberty to choose what courses to take, I think that definitely helps, and that's what helped me be able to like make time to visit New York City. But yeah.
Great, thank you. And on the thoughts of, travel, following along with that, Stella, could you tell us a little bit about, the airport at Rochester and sort of accessibility for getting home, whether it's to China or for a study abroad experience? How does that work out?
The airport at Rochester is not far from campus. Normally, because I live in China, I would like go to Rochester by plane, of course. I normally take an international flight from my hometown to JFK Airport in New York City, and then I would take a domestic flight from New York City to Rochester. Yeah, I think it's not like it's actually convenient to go to any other cities domestically from Rochester, but it depends. Normally, you have to transfer once in the middle from Rochester to your destination.
Great, thank you. Yeah, Rochester's a great little airport. It's definitely not like a JFK or a Chicago, but yeah, a lot of the major airports have service to the Rochester airport. So definitely accessibility. It's only 7-minute drive right down the street. You can always, I'm sure the students could tell you, our panelists, that you can see planes landing and taking off a lot over campus. So it's actually a pretty cool experience. I've had a couple questions come in about English literature classes. Have any of our panelists taken any English lit classes and could speak to what that's like?
I've taken English classes. They're not like English literature, but I've taken classes in the English department. And I would say that, okay, like I'm not biased at all. I've taken one class, but I think the English department is one of the nicest departments that exist on campus, just because of like how amazing and how welcoming they are. And they have these different and again, I got involved with the English department because of debate. So I was able to like interact with a lot of the professors, and they also have like different like events that take place on campus. And I think it's true for every different department. So like my engineering departments had also those kind of like interaction. But for in terms of like the English classes, they're smaller in size, compared to like my political science 105 class, when there was probably like 20 or 30, 25 students, whereas my English class had like 10 people. But it also gave me opportunity to like interact with professors and my classmates on a more personal note. Obviously, I did build relationships with my other professors as well, but to this day, one of my favorite professors is from the English department. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And we are getting close to time here, so sorry, muted myself. I did want to ask one final question of our panelists, and I am sorry, my cat is just decided to start playing next to me. So apologies about that awkward noise. Why would you recommend the U of R to our prospective students? What makes it so great, and what maybe advice could you give for students looking at the University of Rochester? And I'd like each of you to sort of have a response to this. So we can start with you, Stella, if that's okay.
Yeah. Like we have mentioned before for so many times, my recommendation for going to U of R, because this campus has filled with diversity, and it welcomes the international students. You can have so many interesting experiences here. And also the key point is the open curriculum, because it matters to me a lot. Before I came to U of R, I was disoriented and had no idea what my major would be before college. And this open curriculum policy fits me so well that I got a chance to explore what I'm truly interested in. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing that in my life, like in my college life.
Great, thank you. Himi, how about for you?
All right. So I've like answered this question like a million times by now, but for me, I guess the few things that have always stood out for me for in terms of Rochester is that it really cares about like the people, the staff, the students genuinely care and believe in the Meliora motto, which is like ever better, to like improve yourself for the betterment of your community. So I've always seen that like being represented. Like I used to hear about it in terms of like, oh, it was online, but then when I interacted with students upon my acceptance, I realized that people do truly believe in it, and it's not just a motto. So that was something that was really important to me. And then the other thing was, like Stella mentioned, diversity of the student body, and Marcelo mentioned it like earlier into the panel. I think the university is really uh, so I like the way I want to think about it is like in terms of financial aid, like it's obviously an important factor that plays into like being an international student coming to the US. And I think the fact that the university was so communicative and responsive to all of my questions, all of my anything that was it if, even if it was a question. And I remember this, I had a question about like, oh, what it would be like as a Bangladeshi student to study biomedical engineering. My counselor connected me to a Bangladeshi student who was studying biomedical engineering in Rochester. And that was unheard of for me. So I think that was one of the things, like how communicative like everyone is, how open-minded and how welcoming everyone is. And then the last thing, obviously, is the diversity.
Great, thank you so much. And I did want to also address real quick before we end the session, just to kind of address sort of the elephant in the room, right? Which is COVID-19 and sort of all this craziness. We do have a dedicated page on our University of Rochester website, all surrounding, news about COVID-19, how the university is addressing concerns that come up, how we are committed to ensuring that our students are safe, and that we are very much hoping that we will still be able to have a traditional fall semester on ground. So that is really what we're hoping for. However, we can't predict the future, unfortunately, and so we're kind of going with planning the alternatives. So what if we cannot have students on campus? And the answer to that is we are going to offer online courses if in the event that it's just not a possibility for the fall. So you can keep updated by visiting our page. We also do have newsletters and things that come out, and we'll also address these questions. So our first priority, is our students, staff and faculty. And so we want everybody to be safe, stay well, and that's just very, very important to us at our core as an institution. I'm going to share my screen again with the PowerPoint just to sort of show you how you can reach out to us. And so can everybody see my screen? If the panelists could give me a thumbs up, great, thank you. So you can contact your counselor. You can find us on the class of 2024 page if you just type down that link. We'll also share it with you in the chat box as well. Also, you can contact admissions directly with the email below. admissions@admissions.rochester.edu is our email address. And also, we have a variety of ways to keep engaging with us. So even though we are virtually right now, and we're living kind of in this virtual space for really the first time, you can attend multiple admitted student events. So whether you're studying in the humanities or engineering, if you just want to hang out with some current students, you can do that as well. There are sessions and resources for parents and families as well. So there are a variety of ways to sort of stay in the loop and be kind of talking with current students and others. So you can just actually register for any of those, all of those, I mean, as many as you want, there's no limit, by visiting our page. And then also, we do have a virtual tour online, and we are still giving virtual information sessions, though we wish we could be giving these to you and giving you an actual tour on ground if you're near New York. We do have things virtually to try to sort of make up for that experience. We don't want you to lose that, so we do have a great virtual tour. We are on all social media handles, so pick your poison sort of now. Whatever you're used to, if you are an Instagrammer like I am, if you tweet a lot, we are pretty much everywhere. So I also mentioned, we have WeChat as well if you are somebody that has a WeChat. So please feel free to connect with us. I'm going to ask our panelists if they are comfortable to sharing their name and email in the chat box so that, you can continue to ask us questions if you have any. I will also be sharing my contact information as well. So please feel free to reach out with any questions that you have. And we look forward to, hopefully seeing you in the fall. That would be wonderful. So thank you again so much to my colleagues for helping with the question and answers in the chat box, and also, of course, to the panelists for taking some time out of their days. Especially, well, at the start it was a little earlier here, so 9 a.m. In New York. So thank you so much for being here and taking your time. And with that, we will conclude the session. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and congratulations again on your acceptance.